Yo, what's up? So, I'm Kira. In Smite, I go by Pluto. I've been playing Smite for about a decade now, a little more. I started in open beta. I've followed it basically every season, played a good bit every season, followed the SPL. I have around 3,000 hours. I peaked in ranked joust at the Grandmaster level, competing with the top people on the leaderboard with my friends. I haven't played too much ranked conquest in a long time. But when I did, I was like low plat like 8 years ago or something. Now I'm pretty confident if I put my mind to it, I could get mid diamond at least, probably high diamond, maybe masters if I really put my mind to it. But, you know, you're not here for my credentials. Credentials are stupid anyway. I'm just a guy on the internet with opinions. If you really want to see how good I am, you can look at some of the clips on this channel. Some of them are kind of fire. Some of them are just silly, whatever. But yeah, I'm here to spout opinions about Smite 2, about what I hope to see, about what I think we should expect to see, and be upset if we don't end up getting it. So first off, Smite 2, it represents a big shift, right? It's a big change. People might have heard some terms thrown around. Maybe I can explain them a little bit better. So Unreal Engine 3 is a game engine that released around 2007, I believe. That's what Smite is written in. Well, not written in, it's not a coding language, but that's what Smite runs in, is that engine, 2007, 2008, something like that. That's pretty outdated. Now, the HUDs that Smite uses are run in Flash, which is a discontinued product. So we're talking really outdated, right? These are the things that Smite 1 is built on. These are some unchangeable truths about Smite 1, right? And with these unchangeable truths comes a lot of bad things. And those bad things are very easily represented in the worst parts of what Smite is about right now. The worst part of Smite is not the balancing. It's not the designs. It's not the artwork. It's none of those things. I don't care how much you whine about X-God being OP. The worst thing about Smite is the instability, right? It crashes all the time, man. It crashes in lobby, giving you deserter. It crashes in game. It crashes in loading screens. With the Season 11 patch, day one, they fixed this by now. But in the Battle Pass, if you clicked the arrow to look through all the skins in the Battle Pass, your game crashed. Like, that's insane. And we could chalk it up to being like, oh, the devs are so bad, but that's not really the case, right? These devs are experienced. They've been working on Smite for a long time. They're passionate. They care. There's a lot that can go wrong, sure, in any game, but when you are working on UE3, which makes it hard to implement things, when you're working with Flash, when you are working on a decade plus old code base that was written by people with way less experience in the game and in coding and in the engine, you end up with shit like this, where you have bugs where someone will float off into space because they got too close to the wall when someone ulted them, or where Vulcan's turret is invisible if you're playing on Portuguese. That's a real bug. That's a real bug. Insane, right? There's also, my favorite bug is in the end screen lobby. If you mouse over the little bar section that says like progress, rewards, etc., and you scroll down, the words disappear and you can't click on the tabs anymore. Then you scroll up and they reappear. It's hilarious. I love it. But so these are some really big drawbacks for new players, especially when they come into a game like Smite. They see Smite, they think free, they think, oh, this looks like fun. There's a huge barrier to entry in MOBAs, but Smite's trying to combat that, right? That's something that all MOBAs have to deal with. But on top of that, they can't invite their friends to the party because the invite didn't go through, and now that you sent an invite to that person, you can't invite them again for like a minute or so. Like, the game crashes in the loading screen, the game crashes when you look at the battle pass, there's bugs, there's jank. It's not good for new player retention, right? And I think these are some of the Smite's biggest problems, and the upgrade to Unreal Engine 5 is the perfect situation to fix these things. Unreal Engine 5, they say, has made a massive increase in productivity. So something that might take them an entire month, they said they got done in like a day or something. Like, incredible. I think they said they recoded the entire pre-alpha thing that they showed off in Smite. They had like a working build internally in like a month of 5 people working on it. Bonkers. UE5 has a lot of tools that let you develop in the engine instead of needing to work in this program and this program and this program and this program for different things and hoping they come together and work inside UE3 later on. It allows people that don't really know coding, that's not their job, to be able to implement things pretty easily, pretty quickly, and see how it's going to work out. And these things are going to have a massive impact on things like crashes, bugs, hotfixes, right? Quick patches to fix balancing issues. All of these things are going to be way faster in UE5. And then you have the other end of it, which is you're going to have more time to design good things because it's not going to take so long to implement something, right? They've talked a few times about how they'll implement on something and they'll iterate on it and they'll think this isn't that good, but maybe we can change it. This isn't that good, but maybe we can change it. And they'll add a little bit here and there. And then they've gotten too deep because it takes so long to code these things in UE3, or to implement them rather. And so then they have to say, well, Worlds is coming up. We got to get the patch out. I guess this is what we're going with. Hopefully it's not that bad. That should be way less of an issue. I'm sure it'll probably still happen every now and then, but it should happen way less, right? They can implement things instantly, essentially, internally, and test them. And then if they really don't like it, they give up. It's not as big of a deal, right? They have more time to deal with it. That's massive. So I think these are some of the things that we should absolutely expect and require when it comes to Smite 2 on release. It needs these things. So fewer shorter-lived bugs, fewer crashes. A big thing is faster reconnecting. Like, because you crash in game all the time and you have to reconnect and it takes so long, and it's not like, even if you're instant on getting back into the game as fast as you can, the pause isn't long enough, but you don't want to increase the pause because then everyone's not playing the game. It sucks. Additionally, I think that servers need to have a big overhaul, or I would expect them to be much better. This code base that has been worked on for over 12 years is just filled with spaghetti code at the lowest fundamental level from when they first built the game in UE3. And this leads to things like servers having a hard time, machines having a hard time because it's unoptimized. It's stuff that is just intrinsic to Smite 1 that no one can change. And Smite 2 represents the possibility to change that, and I think that is required. I had the other day, I had a bug unoptimization thing that came up that made my frame rate tank. Every time I moved my mouse a little, my frames went down by 80. I went from like 120 down to 40 every now and then. I could catch a glimpse of it being 40 for a split second. And it turns out it's because my mouse's report rate, how fast my mouse sends signals, was too high for the game to handle. Insane. So I turned it down, and then the FPS wasn't a problem anymore. It's so silly. But yeah, moving on. Another thing I think we can expect and should expect are the graphical updates. We've seen some footage, so we know that, graphical updates are coming. We've seen new animations that look more fluid, like on her ult, instead of just chucking a bunch of pillars, his hand moving like this, It looks like there's weight behind the throws. The final hit has a big charge up animation to it. It feels more meaty. That's good stuff. That's what you want. That's like new player retention shit 101, is make the animations feel good, make them look cool. Of course, you're going to have the new shading, you're going to have the new lighting effects. That's all great. I really hope that upscaling is going to be a thing. It's crazy to me. I was playing other games and came back to Smite, and there was no upscaling option. Blew my mind now that I started using it. But an important detail is they have to make sure they keep a visibility high in this game. It's really important to see the edges of abilities, for example. And in the pre-alpha content that they've shown us, I saw a chalk 3. There was the 3 that he put on the ground using his axe, and the 3 following him. And they had these very distinct lines around the edges, and they looked so good. I'm super excited. If they keep going with stuff like that, I'll be happy if stuff is that distinct. It might be clutter if there's too many things like that, and that's going to be a struggle, I imagine. But hopefully they can figure it out. So yeah, graphical updates. Now I'm going to move on to things I think would be good for the game in its longevity, not necessarily things we can guarantee or really should expect. So I think first would be SPL. I love watching SPL. I think it's a great place to get build information, to get like play style information, to discuss ideas, even if everyone in Twitch chat has the worst fucking ideas, I swear to God. But I think it's a great thing for the game, and I would really suck if Smite 2 never got it. And I think hand in hand with this idea that SPL needs to come back is that the Spectator needs to be improved, man. The Spectator crashes are some of like the most prolific crashes in the game. And that is such a big deal for SPL. There's been like, I don't know, 10 sets where because the Spectator client crashed, they had to remake the set or remake the game because they couldn't get back in and spectate the game. That's so bad. It's a spectator sport, so like, what are you gonna do? You need people to be able to watch, otherwise you're not making money. So like, what? How the hell can they have that be in the game? That should be gone, right? Moving the menus are terrible. The UI is not good. It's really hard to manipulate it and move around. And when you're like changing a setting, the frame rate of the Spectator tanks. It can't handle you changing a setting at the same time. It's so bad. Moving on from that, I am a huge fan of this 50 gods on launch thing. I might even prefer them to go lower. I'm a big proponent of less is more in a lot of games, especially when counterplay is so important. I think gods and any character in most games benefit from having defined strengths and defined weaknesses. And I think that the more gods you have in the game, the more those lines get blurred. You know, you can't have 5 characters all be insanely good at long range snipes, because now, like, how are you differentiating those? I think they've done a decent job so far in that example, but I think my point is still salient. But yeah, so less gods, personal preference, sure, but also I think it's great for new players. The whole idea of Smite 2 is, you know, in a massive influx of new players. They see the new pretty colors, they need to see the new pretty graphics. They stop getting crashes and bugs that immediately turn them off to the game. And additionally, as I mentioned earlier, MOBAs have a massive barrier to entry. So reducing the number of gods from 120 or whatever the fuck it's at right now down to 50 is going to go so far to helping people that are new to the game get a grasp of what's going on, right? And yeah, people are going to whine and be upset that their favorite god didn't make it, and that's understandable. Thankfully I like enough gods where I feel like it doesn't really matter. Some of my favorites are going to be in there no matter what. And I can't really pick one that I'd be really upset if it didn't show up. I made a tier list about the gods that I want to appear at what time. So I said like the first 50 that I want there to be on launch, and then the next 10 for each year. I can make a video about that if you guys want me to go over each god. That'd be kind of fun. Let me know if anyone watches this. But yeah, so I think it's really good for new players. And it's also good for design space and iteration. So I mentioned that the more gods that have the same similar abilities, the less each one feels impactful and special. So I think that's really good. I think you should try and have these gods on launch have clear defined weaknesses and strengths. I think it'll allow for more gods to show up later on that will stay interesting without just overlapping and everyone becoming kind of homogenous. And I also think that if they pick a good solid 50 to start with, it'll give them time to iterate on the other ones that they've already come out with in Smite 1, but aren't perfect, or don't have fun counterplay, or have some unfun gameplay loops, or have some really bad bugs, or whatever it may be, right? These gods that need extra work. Starting with 50 gives them a lot of extra time to actually do work on these gods and maybe make Nox fun to fight for once. But I guess to take it on to more of a personal note, I would actually go a step further than this. I would say don't bring back all of the Smite 1 gods. This is just a personal thing. I can explain it, and I will, but I totally understand if you disagree, because some people are going to have their favorite gods gone, and that's fine. It's not like if Nox got a full rework, I'm just using Nox here because she's an easy punching bag. If she got a full rework, it's not like I'd still want her out of the game because, oh, her name is Nox, or because of her lore or anything like that. I just think that the design of some of the gods is not fun sometimes, and is generally a detriment to the games that people play them in. So yeah, I think cull the gods. I think remove a bunch of them. Some you can keep that with some touch-ups or redesigns, but I'd be happy to remove a bunch of them, especially the ones that I would consider bloated. And it's kind of a loaded term, just like, I guess, what it means. But I generally mean it as in like gods that have a lot of options in most scenarios and are kind of a jack of all trades, but aren't defined by being a jack of all trades, you know? So it'll be like someone that has a bunch of damage for an objective, but also has a bunch of CC and mobility. It's like, well, are they good at mobility, or are they good at objectives, or are they good at sieging, or are they good at pushing, or are they good at sustain? It's like you could pick some of them, but I think that there are some gods, especially the more recent ones, where they just try and give them everything, and that kind of pisses me off. Especially whenever it kind of takes up the spot. It blows up the spot of a different god from an older god. Jesus Christ, I can't speak anymore. I don't really have a perfect example. Maybe I could have thought of one. But you look at a character like Ra. Ra hasn't seen like much play in a long time at the pro level. I'm sure he's seen some. Kukulkan's had a resurgence, which is amazing. But I think a lot of these older gods are just a little too straightforward. Those are my favorite kinds of gods, but I feel like straightforward gods are getting pushed out by the more bloated, more surface level-y complex gods. And I am not a fan of surface level complexity. I think depth and complexity are two different things. And I think generally the simpler gods have more depth and these complex gods have less depth. Generally, that's just my personal opinion. Like I said, this section is pretty personal to me. But yeah, I would remove characters like my personal least favorite character in the game is Heimdall. I'd remove him. Or super change him. Fucking character's annoying. But yeah, this also stems from my personal opinion that more isn't always better. I play Melee is one of my favorite games of all time. It's it's 2 decades old with like 10 viable characters or something. I just love it because each of those characters have so much depth to them. I don't need there to be 30 characters when there can be 10 that can be played in 50 different ways each, you know? Like, I feel like that's better. It lets you express yourself more rather than just doing what the character's designed to do. I think that's what video games are all about, really. Moving on, game modes. Smite 2 game modes. I think that this is an interesting topic. I really want to see something akin to Siege come back. I do not think Slash filled the hole whatsoever. I think Slash is a moderately better Clash. Moderately. I think the biggest detriment, the biggest downfall of Clash was the inability to take 1v1s or 1v2s, and the fact that rotations happen so instantly that you're basically roaming as 5 the whole time. I don't think that gameplay is especially fun. I don't think it's especially interesting, and I think Smite really wants for a game mode where these 1v1s and 1v2 situations can happen. Those are my favorite situations in the game. Teamfights are crazy and cool and fun, but it's so rewarding to see 2 people and know that I can take both of these people out if I play my cards right. And then you learn how to play your cards right, and you do, and you take them both out, and that's amazing. But in Slash, in Joust, in Arena, in Assault, those almost never happen. And when they do happen, they probably shouldn't. Someone misplayed and took a fight they shouldn't have taken, right? Because as soon as you jump on that 1v2 or that 1v1 that you could just barely theoretically win, there's the rest of their team like 5 seconds away or a blink away even, right? And like you could say that similar in Conquest, but in the early laning phase, you absolutely have the strength to communicate with your team or even just ward and know where their support, where their jungler is, and take 1v1s based on that. And I think that's really missing from the other game modes in the game. Siege was capable of doing that, and I think it was really important that in the center of the map, you had the 2 lanes going up, right? In the center, the lanes actually jutted out like this. So that made it so that if you were rotating through the center, it would take longer than if you were rotating up here or up here. If you look at the Clash map, if you look at the Slash map, it makes it so that when you're in the most normal place to be, the middle of the lane, clearing minions, you are the closest you can possibly be to the other lane, where the other people might be 1v1ing or 1v2ing. It's just, the rotations are too fast. There's just not enough time to have fun. It de-incentivizes a lot of characters too, like assassins and such. It just make it impossible for them to really play that assassin-y playstyle. And I think that sucks. The very last thing I'll just touch on a little bit, complaining about that the skins aren't getting transferred over. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. I can say what I want, and I'm telling you to shut the fuck up. Sorry, that was pretty rude. But I just think it's silly. I'm not gonna be like, oh, don't buy skins, they're a waste of money, you bought something, you bought pixels on a screen. It's like, that's true technically, but these are games that we sink hundreds, thousands of hours into in my case. I like it when my character looks a little pretty. I like it when they have funny voice lines. I like it when the animations look special and cool. I like it, I like feeling special that I have a rare skin. I don't blame anyone for feeling that way. But at the same time, it's just not gonna happen. It's just, there's other more important things for them to care about than porting every skin over, right? And honestly, I'm just more excited to see the new skins that they come out with. The Smite art team is always amazing, and looking at Hecate, I think that the sky's the limit in Smite 2 with the art team. I think that the new skins that'll come out look amazing, and the Legacy Gem system is alright. It's not my favorite, but, I'll manage. And besides, they give out free skins pretty often. I'm sure they'll continue doing the same thing in Smite 2. Yeah, that's all I can really think of to complain / opinion about. Opinion? Is that what opine means? Dude, I think opine is like the active form of opinion. That's crazy. Okay, well, thanks for listening to me ramble. Hope you enjoyed the Hollow Knight music. If you disagree or agree, I will read every comment because it's an ego trip for me to see people engage. I'm excited to see all your wrong answers, and I'm also excited to see everyone who agrees with me. All 5 of you that watch this video. Okay, peace.